In the 90s, Playmates Toys made the deepest line of Star Trek action figures in history. My name's Keith, and I'm a collector working towards owning all 284. I've been a Trek fan for almost 35 years, and most people are sick of me talking about it. But somehow I've convinced my old friend Mike to review them with me on Look at My Star Trek Toys! Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys. How's it going? I'm Keith. This is my co-host Mike. I'm too excited because some breaking news happened last night. I got the text from Mike, and I'm not gonna sleep anytime soon because we found out that Playmates Toys has reacquired the rights to make Star Trek action figures, and this has been something I've been waiting for a long time. It's very exciting. How's it going, Mike? I'll introduce you now. I'm too excited.
I just love the fact that I finally got to be a proactive part of the show because I was able to break some news to Keith.
You sure did. As
people just joining us who haven't gone back to our previous videos yet, I'm just breaking into sort of the Star Trek universe through their toys.
That's right.
I want to tell a quick story, then we can talk more about this. Two things had been happening. One, as we've been doing this show, I have been anxious to kind of every store I'm in look through and see what Playmates is up to today, what they're up to now. And it's awesome that what they're going to be doing now and in the future lines up perfectly with what we're doing here. But not only that, I was taking a trip down south to see some family, and I got a flat tire and had 3 hours to kill on the 4th of July, and there happened to just be one store open, and that store was an incredible. In fact, I'm going to roll some B-roll right here.
Oh, nice.
This is the store we were checking out, and it just was full of action figures. And I went and texted Keith and was checking out their Star Trek line. And I just, Keith, it's so cool to me that we're getting to sort of, you've been collecting, but I'm getting to rekindle my passion and just love for toys and for figures and action figures, and not just collecting, but just going through and wondering what the new line's going to be and checking them out in the stores. It's just been really kind of a rekindling of a passion. So I'm excited to see the new line because there's a lot of new Trek happening, a new children's, kids-aimed themed show coming out. There's the animated series as well, Below Deck. A lot of figures coming, and I'm really excited to hopefully maybe make some connects with Playmates, maybe get some figures into a review for them. Who knows? And if not,
we're fun.
If not, I'm thinking that maybe, Keith, we spring to get ourselves at least to the toy show this year that happens at the Kravitz Center, and see if we can't get our way in to check it out in that regard.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm so excited. I mean, at this point, they haven't really announced what they're doing yet, other than they're gonna focus on the kids show, which is understandable. The internet is abuzz, of course, wondering, are they going to go back and revisit this line that we're talking about, the 92 through 99 line of the 4.5-inch figures? Because, the kids don't know or care about this, but there's a huge amount of collectors like us who would love to see them continue this line somehow. So I'm prepping already for an episode of the figures I wish Playmates had made, but now it's going to be figures I wish they would make, filling in holes in the original line. So
yeah, and I'm going the other way with it, as you know, since I'm not as steeped in the lore of the Trek universe. I often am more drawn to the more flamboyant characters, or with the more creative designs,
the weirdos and monsters.
Yeah, and I feel that. I've watched some Below Deck, and I think the kids show will have probably some more extravagant characters, and it'd be interesting to see how they keep the tribute aesthetic, their past line, the aesthetic of their past line, but also reach into this sort of new aesthetic and this new universe they're creating. Really gonna be interesting. And look, hey, cutting edge, Keith, and we got that Instagram handle at Star Trek Toys. We got it. So.
Yeah. That's
Playmates,
true. You're stuck with us.
Playmates, you're going to have to reach out
Well,
and by
we'll
have
see,
to, I mean, really hope you do.
I think we should urge patience and calm because they started small last time, the TNG series 1, and nobody thought maybe they wish they went back to the original series. Well, they got there. Took a couple of years, but they did get into there. Well, speaking of things that have taken a couple of years, us getting to the darn toys.
Yes, please.
And this week, it happened to be auspicious that this announcement just came out, but we were going to be fancy anyway, because this is all dressed up. Part 1. We're going to focus on the figures in their dress uniforms. So not their regular Starfleet uniforms, but when they have a fancy function to go to, you bet they have some fancy outfits to go with it. So let us begin right away with figure number 6220, Benjamin Sisko in dress uniform. So, again, this is Avery Brooks as Captain Sisko, or Commander Sisko at this point, because the screenshot we see here is from Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 9, Move Along Home, which is an episode I wish had moved along home. But we did get a chance to see Avery Brooks in his fancy duds. What do you think, Mike?
It's a subtle shift, and yet quite elegant. I'm loving the subtle change at the neckline. You can maybe explain to me a little bit. I guess that is still very similar to, the normal uniform, but yet has a flair to it. And look.
Yes. Go ahead.
I actually think, maybe you can pull them up side by side, I actually think this is a better figure than his actual stock figure.
Well, I'll first explain sort of the tunic there. What's different about it is it has that sort of wraparound, across the neck there, which is a little bit of a subtle reference to the movie series back from 80 years ago in lore, the Wrath of Khan iconic uniforms, with a touch of gold there, which I think is. It's classy. It looks nice. And we're going to talk about it as we move forward. Next episode, the evolution of the dress uniforms, because boy, did it evolve. But we'll do that when we talk about the Picard figure. Spoiler alert, we're doing it next episode. But, if you stall for 10 seconds, I'll go grab the figure. We can go to Toy Cam.
Yeah, so, Keith prepped me as we were getting ready for the episode today about how I was going to find these boring because there was nothing exciting. They were just a subtle shift in uniform. But I'm actually finding as we go along that I'm having a deeper respect that they were so conscious to keep the figures tame and not try to diverge so far from the lore, from what was happening on the series, that it becomes non-canon and or outside of what Keith said earlier, the aesthetic. So I'm finding a newfound respect. Never
diverge from the lore, but you can diverge to Toy Cam.
Toy Cam.
Okay.
There we go.
So I think what you're reacting to is that the dress uniforms were the same on Deep Space Nine and the Next Generation. So the Next Generation, the dress uniform is actually just a very small change to the Next Gen uniform, as opposed to a larger change. And we all can imagine why they did that, because they saved themselves having to design another set of uniforms for everybody. But it does sort of create a tie-in to the other world there. So here are the two figures side by side.
And it's also interesting to see on Toy Cam, and maybe you could zoom in if it'll stay in focus, that the sculpting of the face is subtly different too. It's not like they just stuck a different head on. Or the same head. There definitely looks different. Eyebrow sculpting is different.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know if they would have invested money to do that. It
could be the painting, yeah.
Just a subtle paint shift. But and of course I'm looking at, for those of you paying attention, this is the pre-haircut and goatee figure of Sisko. The next figure of Sisko definitely has a different face model. All right, well, let us continue our journey, and let's talk about figure number 6026, Geordi LaForge in a dress uniform. Boom, here he is. And so you can see Geordi's regular uniform is not that much different from this one. And this is, of course, a screenshot from TNG 411 Data's Day. I have another surprise coming next episode about that one. I'm just shilling for next episode, apparently. That's all I'm going to do today. So what do you think?
You know, what I love about Geordi, and we talked about the prop piece, the eyepiece before, and how he had to adapt as an actor. But what I think is so cool, and I think is really highlighted by this costume design, is that the piece itself, the actual, even though, like you said, I can't imagine it, the prop was that elegant, but the way it reads on camera, and even the way it reads here on an action figure, it's so cool. It's incredibly simple, but it just looks so futuristic and yet well-designed, like it perfectly should exist in this futuristic world. Grounded, yet futuristic. And here, it's gold matched with the dress uniform gold really is working for me.
Yeah, no, that's actually true, the gold on gold. Now, if you look at the screenshot of Levar Burton there, you'll note that the dress part is a little bit longer because what we're seeing here in Data's Day is not the final version, where the figure is the final version, which is a little bit shorter. So we'll talk about that, but it's an interesting little thing that kept changing there. Now, here's something cool I have for this figure because I got it in the box. So let's head over to Toy Cam. Oh God, Geordi's huge. So I gotta back it up. So here
I
in
threw
the
you a
box,
loop. I went to the different toy cam.
you did. It's live. We do it live. So this is from TNG Series 2. So
right,
the box is similar to.
Whoa!
Oh, Toy Cam. There we go. So the box is similar to TNG Series 1 with a couple of minor additions, including the big sticker that says new. But we see here it came with a card, a skybox card. I had to check what the card was, and a bunch of choking hazards, which have gotten a little bit loose here. But if we look at the back, you can see he's got. It's very similar because they're basically just doing an alternate uniform, but you can see what they had going on with Series 2. With Series 2, they really focused on our next gen cast's alternate uniforms. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get to it in a later episode, but they did some of the dress uniforms. They also started incorporating some of the uniforms from season 1, which you'll note there's a Geordi LaForge in red. We'll explain that later to the people who don't know, who are only Mike.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, so that's what it looked like in canon there. And let me see, this retailed originally for $4.97 at a department store called Hills.
I have to say that, I'm thinking back to the Dick Tracy toys I collected and the Ninja Turtle toys that I was obsessed with, who both were Playmates lines. And I'm looking at the Star Trek toys that you've been showing. And what I wish I had done as a kid, although it's not surprising that I didn't, I'm much more into the box art now. I think it's really cool. The way it's designed, it's sort of got that cereal box vibe where they're like, make it colorful, make it splashy, put a bunch of stuff on there for the kids. I used to tear into those toys and throw this stuff away. So it's, I wish I had maybe held on to them, and I'm glad that you have some in the box still.
No, I think that's a really good point. And I think as we talk about how the boxes evolve over time, I think as Playmates realized that adults were buying this every bit as much as the kids, they became a little bit less cereal boxy. Mm-hmm. So if you look at as it went along, it got a little cleaner, got a little more elegant, got a little classier, and was definitely more aimed at adults who were collecting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let us keep going, and let's go to Geordi's Geordi's best friend, who is not Picard's best friend. Come on, you're not fooling anybody just because you wanted to write it into Picard. We're gonna go to 6941 Data in Dress Uniform, and this is from Playmates Series 3. And now, so you see Brent Spiner as Data there. In the episode Liaisons from Season 7, and this, of course, because it's Season 7, is the final version of the dress uniform. Basically the same as Geordi's, but what do you think?
So I'll take this opportunity, since there's not much of a difference between the figure molding, although Data looks very, very suave here. I'll ask you, did they release these in their all of the dress uniforms as one collection in one sort of run?
No, they did not. So this is from Series 3, and the Geordi one is from Series 2. So they sort of filled it in, in bits and pieces. So if you wanted to actually collect the entire cast in their dress uniforms, you had to work for it and wait for it. And in fact, in the Next Gen cast, there were 2 main cast members who did not get dress uniforms figures.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. See, Playmates has holes in the line, which I'm hoping they're going to fill.
Well, from your mouth to whoever they got on their social media feed, who's at some point, if you keep subscribing, folks, and giving us that likes up and smashing that bell, maybe we'll catch the attention of somebody of import.
Ooh, very well done, sir. All right. Well, let's go to something different. Let us go back in time to the original series, because wouldn't you know it, the original series also had dress uniforms in the original, like way back in the 60s, not just the movie series. So let us go back to the original, and let's talk about 6190 Kirk in a dress uniform.
Ooh.
So here it is. This is a screenshot from 210 Journey to Babel, there with Spock's mom. And Kirk, of course, played by William Shatner, just rocking that green and gold. And so this came from an interesting set. And you'll note, I clearly got this one loose, because these next 2 figures were definitely played with. I will eventually replace them with higher, figures in better condition. But look, you buy stuff loose on the internet. Sometimes they're in great condition, sometimes they're not. But it has a little patina.
The store that I went to, I was mentioning earlier, what I found was really cool was not only did they have, a bunch of box figures on the shelves, but they had bins of just Lucy's.
Yeah.
And you could just kind of sift through like little tubs of Lucy's that you could just go through, tons of G.I. Joes, He-Mans, like all mixed together. You could just kind of go hunting, and that's part of the fun.
No, really, it's like treasure hunting. I don't mind digging through the Lucy's. Like I understand that a lot of people want it in box and want the full, whatever, but I don't know. You find a hidden treasure there, because sometimes people don't know what they have, and they just throw them in the box of Lucy's, and oh my God, it's a rare figure. It's
no disrespect to anybody's method or how they collect or how sort of OCD they are about it or their strategies. To each their own. That's kind of the beauty of any hobby. But what I thought was neat about you, Keith, specifically, and we share this, I was at the store having a great time and just really just kind of living in it. Even though I really didn't want to buy anything. Actually, I wanted to buy a lot of things, but my wife was with me, so I knew it was going to be an observational trip only.
Observational trip to the toy store.
But I was texting Keith a bunch, being like, is there anything you're on the lookout? I should be on the lookout for. And it became clear to me that you really want to do it on your own. You really weren't looking for to live vicariously through me at the time, and I respect that. You were like, what's the name of the place? Hopefully I can get down there someday. Yeah,
because it really is... collecting is a treasure hunt. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what it is. And I think that it's really fun to go and find something yourself. I mean, I want to go to the garage sale and find a box of them that they didn't, that it was somebody else's, and just find that deal, find that thing you weren't expecting. I don't know. It's fun. It's toys. All toys are fun.
It's toys.
I should explain a little bit more about this figure in particular. You're going to notice that when we talk about our next figure, it has the same model number. That is because this came from a set. So Playmates mostly sold their figures individually, but it did start putting out boxed sets of figures. So this one is an officer set, which featured the officers of the 3 shows running at the time. Well, original series wasn't running anymore, but Next Gen and Deep Space Nine in their dress uniforms. So that's where you're going to find your Picard and your Riker. And a couple of other things about these figures. One, they were not numbered. At least the Kirk and Spock are not numbered. So that was just part of the set there. The other thing is the Deep Space Nine didn't have Sisko and Kira in their dress uniforms because Kira did not have a dress uniform at that point. So they reboxed the original Sisko and Kira figures, but again, not numbered. So that is how they're basically the exact same figure, but if you have a complete set, you need a numbered one and an unnumbered one of Kira and Sisko.
I also should point out here that this is one of the more rare occasions where the action figure is much better styled than the actual character there. I mean, that costume is not fit well. It's clearly low budge a little bit. The trimmings not great. Looks much better on the action figure. Better fitted, better constructed. Just all around, better. No disrespect.
But as I'm sitting here looking at these, let's go to Toy Cam because I have a mystery. I have a mystery to solve. Okay. So, and maybe the people listening here can help me with this. All right. So, as I mentioned before, the Sisko and Kira are not numbered. And here's let's not I don't want to spoil what's the next one. Here is the Kirk figure. And if you look at it, it's white on the bottom. It's just been painted white. That's where they number the figure. But clearly nothing was ever printed onto it. However, when we look at Picard, the figure, it'd be really difficult to see. I don't know if you'll ever be able to see this. Come on, camera, focus. But there's very clearly a number that was printed on it and then whited out and then painted over, which I find fascinating because I don't see any reason why anybody in the world would do that. So that would have to be the manufacturer doing that, and it's true of Riker as well. And so I'm not sure what happened there. Obviously, they probably used unused legs from a previous run that they numbered, and they just painted over the number when they put out the box set.
Yeah, that's what it seems. That seems as good a speculation as any.
Well,
clearly,
if you know, let us know. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, someone out there listening must have some sort of connection to how the molding process and how this all works.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly they're reusing pieces right and left, but and yeah, I don't know. It's a fascinating little mystery. But what is not a mystery is what figures next, because I already gave it away. I showed it. It's 6190 Spock in his dress uniform. There he is, folks. You can see his hair has had some battle damage before I got the figure. But yeah, so this is Spock's own thing. He has obviously some awards and rank insignias on his chest that this one and Kirk had, which are not on the Next Generation. Obviously, Starfleet decided that was a little much. But yeah, so this is from TOS 121 Court Martial. And you can see this fit Leonard Nimoy about as well as the other one fit Shatner.
It was a one-size-fit-all scenario. There was no time to have a fitting. But, it doesn't matter because there is nothing anyone can do or ever has done to make Spock not look badass.
No, that's definitely true. Well, look, they were dealing on a shoestring budget, and having an alternate uniform for this was a big ask of their costume department. So,
Yeah, just look at the set. Look at that set. It's so funny to me.
yeah. Well, all of the high def remasters are really revealing because you know, they weren't expecting us to see it at any higher resolution than 480. Right. And so once you really look at even the next gen set, which had a much higher budget, you can see like parts that have been painted and repainted, and you can see scuff marks, and you can see.
I find that to be, yes, paint is generally the thing that shows up in high definition. Seems like that door behind Spock is a great example. That's clearly crappy old wood that got painted over. It looks like a High School Musical flat that got painted 700 times for 7 different shows.
Well, a lot of it was. I mean, the set is still even now the set's made of plywood, and one of the reasons they carpeted a lot of this next gen is to, you know, muffle the sound of them walking over the plywood. And
I love that it's carpeted. I love that it's carpeted.
Well, that was also a Gene Roddenberry thing. He thought there would be no sound in space of like clanging. So, but it also mainly, excuse me, was to cover their footsteps, which made production a lot easier. Okay, well, this is part 1 of our fancy little tour. Next week you will see part 2. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. I have a surprise thing that I own that I'm excited to show you, and I may have the ability show you what it would look like if they had finished the cast of Next Gen in their fancy outfits. Ooh. So look out. Meanwhile, do us a big favor. Like and subscribe. Do all the things. You can email us at at lookatmystartrektoys@gmail.com. I just plugged our other show, the Out of Practice Podcast on KME Entertainment. You can find us on Instagram at Star Trek. But leave us a comment below. I'm really enjoying talking with everybody.
At Star Trek Toys?
At Star Trek Toys. Yes. That's right.
At Star Trek, I think, is probably owned by someone else. I probably
don't have that one. No, I imagine, you know, Paramount might have something to say about that. But I'm really enjoying chatting with everybody. We'll do an episode about all of the comments, but incredibly interesting and insightful questions and stories, and it's been a highlight of my day to check in and see who's saying what and chatting with you.
Yeah, and a thank you from me to everyone. You know, a lot of different communities get a bad rap for being exclusive, and yet here I am, an outsider, you know, just getting my feet wet into just such a dense universe, and the community's been nothing but really cool and welcoming and insightful, and I appreciate
Trek
all of
World's
that.
a different type.
Yeah,
different type of folk.
I'm really getting excited. I haven't really started watching any of them, but well, Picard I watched, and Next Gen I watch on reruns. So my promise is I'm going to get in. Yeah, we're
gonna get him. Don't worry. I think he has no choice now but to start watching.
And you better bet we're going to be watching this kids show, Keith. We are in.
Oh yeah, no, of course, and we're going to review all the toys that they put out, as long as they're not $30 a piece. So there it is, folks. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. This has been
Look at my Star Trek toys!